as you may be aware. I am a pretty big fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street. I have games, costumes, dolls, and a rubber Freddy figure that can possibly be used as a modified dildo. Anyway, to give you a little history, the 1984 original film, A Nightmare on Elm Street, was a goddamn classic that spawned many sequels. Less than 1 year after the first release, came Part 2, which was way worse than the first one. Then came Part 3, that was way better than the second one. And next came Part 4, that's up as compared to the third, and then Part 5 that was even worse than the fourth one, if that's possible. Next came Part 6, but by this point, everyone was like, who gives a fuck about this washed up shitty series? Then the next thing you know, out of left field came Part 7, called Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which rejuvenated the franchise if you ask me. So comes 2010, and it's been about 15 years since a new installment in the series has been made. So would just some Hollywood asshole say, "Hey, I got a great idea. Let's remake A Nightmare on Elm Street." At the meeting, all the studio executives begin to clap and pitch tents simultaneously at the thought of how much money they'd make off of the franchise's already established fanbase. So, by this point in the video, you're probably saying, cut the bullshit and get down to the goddamn review. So let's do just that. Well, the first thing that I have to say is that this movie is gory as hell. At least when being compared to the original film. Now this can be either a good thing or a bad thing for a horror movie. But as you can guess, in this case, it was a shitty idea. I see it as just a cheap attempt to gross out and make an impression on the kiddies. And if that isn't bad enough, whenever there is a gruesome murder scene with a lot of blood, the fucking movie starts going in slow motion bullet time, like a video game, just to impress the kiddies some more. Speaking of kiddies, aren't high schoolers like 15 or 16 years old? All of the assholes acting in this movie look like they're somewhere in their 20s at the very least. And after doing a little research, I see that I am entirely correct. I mean, was the person in charge of casting the characters on crack or something? Is it that hard to get someone who is 17 or 18 and looks the part, instead of bringing in people who are like 25? The one girl in this movie is supposed to be in high school, and she has wrinkles for Christ's sake. Don't get me wrong. She was fucking hot as hell, and I'd hit it like a dinner bell at 7 p.m. sharp. And, whoa! Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I got carried away there for a second. Let's get back to the topic of casting. Well, let me just say that I wasn't very happy with the guy who played Freddy Krueger. Freddy is the driving force behind all these movies over the years, and nobody gives a shit about any of the characters except him. The new Freddy didn't do a terrible job, but Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger, as far as I'm concerned. If you see him walking down the street, you'll be like, holy shit, it's Freddy. Not holy shit, it's Robert Englund. The new guy playing Freddy seems to be average height at best. If I recall correctly, one of the high schoolers he was terrorizing was even taller than him, for Christ's sake. Robert Englund is a tall motherfucker, so that definitely works better for the character than having the victim looking eye to eye with the asshole. I also didn't like the new Freddy makeup job. From what I read online, the makeup artists were going for realism with Freddy's facial appearance. But fuck that, a movie about a guy who kills people in their dreams is anything but realistic. The face just seems really smooshed together and flat, kind of like Katy Perry's ass. Don't get me wrong again, I definitely hit that. Shit. Where was I? Oh yes. Freddy Krueger. I also think the guy who played Freddy has been watching The Dark Knight too much, because he sounds like he's doing the Christian Bale Batman voice, which is goddamn ridiculous if you ask me. On a side note, they changed Freddy from being a child killer in the original to now being a child molester. Which brings me to my next point. Would the parents on Elm Street really be that damn pissed off to murder him for molesting a few kids? And in the new movie, one of the parents, who was a part of the group that killed Freddy, is now a school teacher, and he is all proud about killing a child molester. Shouldn't that son of a bitch be doing time for murdering someone? Maybe if he were a child killer, like in the original movie, murdering Freddy would have been more understandable. But the way this shit is in the remake is just crazy if you ask me. Another reason why they didn't run into any legal trouble with killing Freddy Krueger in the original is because Nancy's dad is the police lieutenant of the town. At least there, you could have came up with your own conclusion, that because he is the law and part of the mob that killed Freddy. They just said fuck that law shit. But guess what? There is no police lieutenant father character in the remake. Why they wrote out Nancy's dad from the script is beyond me. And I'm not even going to bother to stoop to the writer's level of retardation and try to figure it out. Anyways, most of the plot is the same between the two movies, except for the things I just mentioned. The remake gets about 1.5 out of 5 stars. The only thing that got me through the remake, without leaving with a sour taste in my mouth, was my fond memories of the original. Oh, and to let you know the ending, without having to sit through this disaster, Freddy Krueger pops out of a mirror at the last second, and stabs Nancy's mom's face and eyes out. As if the Nancy character wasn't emo enough to begin with. She is bound to be worse if there is a sequel, God forbid. In conclusion, I will say that you should go against the movie character's advice if you're stuck watching this remake at someone's house or some shit. And fall the fuck asleep.